All right. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to finally welcome Sahara to the Brave Table. Woo woo. Welcome
Woo
all the way
woo.
from Miami.
Girl, it's good to be here.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. Well, woman, I think we need to set the stage and the table. And let's go back a little bit as to how you discovered your Dharma.
Mm. So for me as a child, I always knew that I was here to help people. That was always this like natural knowing. And I thought helping people meant to sacrifice your life. So I would look at people like Mother Teresa and Gandhi, and I'm like, I know I need to help people. So I'm going to join the Peace Corps. And that's what
Because why not?
thought I was going to do. And from there, I decided to actually go into human rights. And I was working with Amnesty International. I went to college in DC and I was studying international human rights law. And I thought that was going to be the trajectory of my life. But I felt so creatively unfulfilled. I'm also a very creative person and I love to speak and share and like work with people. And I found that in these NGOs, you are really disconnected from the people that you want to be helping. And I knew that I didn't want to spend my life just like raising money for the next fundraiser and all that fundraiser money is going to the next fundraiser. And I just felt so bureaucratic, but I didn't know like here, my whole life was set up to do this thing. And I'm like, so what am I going to do? And I really wasn't sure. And I would like look at other people and I'm like, well, their life looks cool. Like, should I, work at L'Oreal makeup company? Should I be a real estate agent? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like, I have no fucking idea. Like maybe they know. So at this time I was going through my own health journey and I had all these digestive issues, which turned into amenorrhea, and I stopped getting my period for over 2 years.
Oh my God.
So when you don't get your period for 2 years, your body goes into perimenopause. And when that happens, and I was 21
Wait, perimenopause.
Yeah.
And you were 21.
21. So my body started shutting down. It went into bone density issues. They told me that I'm likely going to become handicapped early in life. They told me I'm obviously never going to be able to have children. And I had all of the symptoms that someone would have if they had zero estrogen in their bodies when I'm 21 years old. And I need that to build my bones and my body for the rest of my life. And I went to so many different doctors who kept prescribing me different medications. So take hormone replacement therapy, take antidepressants for your digestion. And it's like all these like weird things. And I just intuitively knew that the root cause of this is not the fact that I haven't been taking these medications, but it's something deeper, but I didn't know what that was. So that brought me on a holistic health journey. And from studying different holistic health systems, I learned about Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system and the sister science of yoga based on the mind-body connection. So for the first time with Ayurveda, I felt completely understood. Like it shared taking an Ayurvedic quiz. When I got the results of Vata, it was like my personality, my health issues, like everything in
it's totally you.
Yeah, it was completely me. And it put together the pieces of the puzzle that no doctor was ever able to before. So I became obsessed. I wanted to learn everything I could about Ayurveda and just went down this rabbit hole of really just focusing so much on not just Ayurveda, but spirituality and just diving deeper into the mind-body connection. So I realized that, and as I was doing this, I was healing my body and eventually I could digest food without being in pain and I could sleep because I had really bad insomnia before that. And I was healing my body holistically. And I knew that so many people could benefit from this wisdom. So I received the download of, well, what if I wrote a book about this, especially for young millennial women like me, because so many of them were reaching out to me. I was blogging at the time saying they had the exact same issues.
Wow.
So I decided, okay, I'll write a book on this. And I had never met an author in my life. I didn't know anything about writing a book.
Because why not?
Just write a book.
As you do.
And I decided I would set off on this journey and focus on this. And that's when my family was like, whoa, what? Like this Ayurveda thing is okay for your hobby, but it's not what is going to pay for your bills.
Don't you just love when they do that? My God.
Yeah. So at first they're like, okay, you're crazy. Like, when are you going to apply for your job or get your real estate license?
What cult did you join? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, what cult did you join? Especially when, so after I graduated from college, I went to India and I spent that first year studying Ayurveda and teaching health and sanitation in the slums. And they're like, what is she doing? Like, this is not the plan. Like, like, what is going on?
You're going off course.
And as I was diving deeper and deeper into myself, the more I realized that I don't want to take advice from my parents who are not happy. They're not living their purpose, and they're making these decisions out of fear. So I begin seeing people living completely different experiences, like people in Bali who are like tantric life coaches and like Reiki masters. I'm like, wait, like, I didn't even know this existed. Like, this is possible. Like,
this is pure joy.
Do your parents know you're here? Like,
yeah, what are your parents?
Okay with this? Yeah, I would actually ask everyone I met, like, are your parents okay with this?
How did you get them to say yes?
and some of them were like, I haven't spoken to my parents in a decade. And some of them were like, my parents are here with me. And I realized, like, so much of my life I spent for my parents' approval, of wanting to get that gold star and wanting them to say, you're worthy of love, especially, you know, my dad, who grew up in Iran, where the only way he was worthy of love was by being smart. So for me, I felt that same thing. And I was really at this crossroads, because the more I would see these people taking completely alternative life plans, it showed me it was possible. But at the same time, I had this idea in my mind, well, that's possible for them because they're white. Or that's possible for them because they don't have the same background that I have. Like, I wish I was like Sally, whose mom didn't give a crap. Like, my parents will kill me. Like, I can't.
They have a plan for you and it has to be fulfilled.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I also wondered too, because a lot of them did struggle financially. So I'm like, is it possible to make money and buy organic food from Whole Foods and live your purpose? And also, are these people special? Maybe they have a purpose, but I don't. And so I was really at this crossroads of like, do I have a purpose? Is this just, you know, the Santa Claus story they tell you when you're a kid of like, follow your dreams, and you get older and it's like, no, you weren't actually supposed to follow your dreams. Like,
you're supposed to get a job.
Exactly. So I wasn't sure, and I was extremely confused. And during this time, the tension with my family was getting worse and worse and worse. And I came back to Boston, where they live, and I was living with them for like 2 months at this point, and we were fighting every single day. And especially with my father, he was just, I think a lot of time immigrant dads think they need to be like angry and harsh in order for you to make a change.
And overprotective.
Yeah, but it felt to me really hateful. It felt like he didn't understand me. So he would call me a loser. He would call me a failure. He would call me a lost and confused hippie who doesn't know what she's doing in life. And I remember this one fight I had with my dad that he was just yelling at me like, you are such a disgrace. I sacrificed my entire life for you, and this is how you repay me. Oof. You are dead to me. You are the scum of the earth. Oh. And I went downstairs to like the playroom I used to play in as a kid. And I was just crying, like on my knees crying. And I looked up at my dolls from when I was a kid, and I was like, what did they do this all for? Like, why did they bring me to this country? Like, why did they tell me to like, do what you love, when here I am doing it and I'm dead to him? And then I realized, well, if I'm dead to him, then I have no one else to live for but myself. And I'm not going to try to get that pat on the head of you're good enough. You're our good daughter. Fuck it. I'm going to live life according to my terms. So I booked
no more
a flight.
Perfect daughter.
Exactly. So with the little money that I had, I was able to book a flight like in the very, very back to India. I stayed in a hut that was 100 rupees a night, less than $2 a night for a year, with rats in it.
No.
Some nights I would look up at my mosquito net, and my mosquito net was like 6 inches away from my face because there was a rat on it that had fallen, and I would try to throw my shoe to get the rat to go away. And
well, you went deep.
And because I didn't have money, but I just knew that I needed to have the space to be able to write this book. And I knew that this book needed to happen. And I was willing to let go of everything in my life to see if it's possible for me. Because I knew that if I died with this regret of not knowing what I was capable of, I would actually end up just like my dad, feeling really hateful of people who are following their dreams.
Ooh, wow. Oh, that hits a lot of wounds there. Oh, yes. And I think so many of our listeners, I know it's a big one. She just dropped a big one. Mic drop, because this is kind of the immigrant parent story. And this is the immigrant parent story for so many of us. It's kind of like, and you and I have talked about this, at length, of they had to struggle. Like, your parents, my parents, like they came here for a better life for sure. And your dad's so accomplished, however many PhDs, but like our parents, they worked, and they only know what they know. So how did you kind of, then your journey kind of took a different turn, because now you're like, all right, I'm going to live on my own because my dad basically disowned me. How was that next chapter for you?
Yeah. So that next chapter, I had a beautiful sense of freedom that happens when you stop living for someone else. Like, you stop trying to prove yourself or be like, hey, I did this, I did that. And like all those micro ways that you do that. And I had this space from them to really start to think about all of the beliefs that I was given that aren't true to me. Even like little things like, oh, if you like a guy, completely ignore him, because that's how you'll
that's
know.
How you get them.
And I'm like, but that's what I was taught by my Iranian cousin. So I'm like, then who am I attracting if I like the only guys who come up with me are the ones that I won't make eye contact with? Like, who am I attracting here?
Look the other way. It's like the biggest Bollywood movie where you're like in the fields and your hair is just
pretend you hate them and see who perseveres. Like, you're going to get a fucking stalker if you do that.
It's so true. They're going to be at your house. Red flag, ladies, red flag. Yeah. You do not want that.
Exactly. So I started just to rethink all of these beliefs. And so that next chapter for me, it looked like I had this idea. There were a lot of children and young girls, because in Goa, there is a lot of sex trafficking. And these are women who've escaped from sex trafficking. They were selling these recycled sari materials. So I had this idea of creating a pants line that I called Saraswati Couture, made out of recycled sari pants. So that became really my first business that I had. And I took that business, and my fights with my parents continued, this time just on text message, going back and forth. And I felt like, okay, I need to come back and like fix this chapter, because every time I'm doing yoga or meditating or on ecstatic dance, this guilt is killing me. So even though I'm here, the guilt, it still follows you. So I decided to go back to the US, but this time I had my Saraswati Couture business, and I would go to different music festivals and I would bend. So my dad started to see that, like, okay, she's able to provide for herself. She has some sort of business and
she's taking risks,
and so the relationship started to get a bit better. And then all of the money that I lived with my grandma at the time, because I still wasn't creating enough money to be able to live on my own. So any money that I would get, I would give into getting my book edited and graphic design and just trying to get my book off the ground. That eventually I met this girl who introduced me to a literary agent, and that literary agent pitched my book to 30 different publishers. And I was so excited. This book, I finally finished. It took me 2 years to write this book. It was called Eat Right for Your Mind, Body Type. It's my modern approach to Ayurveda with my plant-based recipes. And finally, she's pitching it to Simon & Schuster and Penguin Random House and Hay House. And guess what, Neeta?
What?
They all rejected me.
Oh my gosh.
All 30 of them rejected me.
Oh my God.
And they echoed back the exact same fears that I had in my head. No one cares. You're not a doctor. You're too young. No one cares about Ayurveda. It's never going to happen. So at that point, I was like, well, maybe my parents were right. Like, here, I did everything.
You did it all.
Rejected. Here's a big wall in my face. So I'm like, I guess I got to study for my real estate exam. But every time I would study for that exam, I would literally start crying. And I'm just like, I couldn't have gone through these health issues and gone this far and all this just to do this. Like, again, some people might love real estate. It's just not my thing.
Right.
And a week later, that exact same literary agent emailed me. She's like, by the way, I got approached by the Alpha Group at Penguin Random House, who does the Idiot's Guides books. They're looking for someone to write the Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda. And they had someone there are 6 months that they give the author to write a book. She was 4 months into the 6 months, and it was so much work that she quit. So they're looking for someone to start to finish, write a 400 plus page textbook on Ayurveda in 2 months.
Oh my God.
So she's like, are you interested? I'm like, sure, I'll take anything.
Yes. Oh my God.
So I had to apply. So I went to Barnes and Nobles. I read every single idiot's guidebook out there. Idiot's Guide to Mowing Your Lawn, Idiot's Guide to Gardening, Idiot's Guide to whatever the fuck. And I'm like, stayed up all night and I wrote the table of contents, like a 16-page detailed table of contents. They're like, okay, this is interesting. Write the first chapter. So then I go back, read all the idiot's guidebooks, like to just get their tone. Cause it's very like,
of course,
fun fact for you. And I wrote that first chapter and I was hired. So here I was now, I had to write a whole new book on Ayurveda in 2 months, but I just knew like, you know what, it might not be my book, but this is an opportunity that I'm given right now. So I'm just going to give this my all because who knows, I might have 1 year left to live and this is the only book I get to write in my life. So let me give it my all. So I did. And I wrote that book and then flash forward when it was about to be printed almost a year later, I saw Deepak Chopra at a conference and walked up to him and sent him that book. And he loved it. And he asked me to meet up with him and interviewed me and ended up writing the foreword of that book.
How insane.
Exactly. And all of a sudden I was like, holy crap. Like my life has so radically shifted just in this past year. And I really attribute the fact that I was able to say yes to something that was challenging, that it wasn't the shiny book deal where I was going to be on the cover of the book at all. Like it was me just like writing the book and I took the opportunity, I gave it my all. And I see a lot of people, they don't take these opportunities when they show up and they wait for the thing to be handed to them.
Right.
And because I did that, then, what is luck? It's preparation meets opportunity. That when I saw Deepak Chopra, I had prepared myself by writing that book. And I took the opportunity of walking up to a total stranger at a conference and
a brave moment.
And then here we had him writing the foreword of my book. And then from there, we created a 31-day course together. And then I wrote
let me just unpack the meeting of Deepak, because had you been already following him and being a student of his, like how was that interaction?
Deepak Chopra was the person that when my parents and I would get into a fight, I would say, one day I'm going to be like Deepak Chopra. One day. And they're like, you're crazy and he's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
He was that person to me that was like the example, the pinnacle of what's possible, because he really is one of the first people to bring Ayurveda to the US and was such an inspiration for me. I mean, and really to me represented a father figure of like, look at this person who's this like scientist and a researcher and has so many similarities to my father, but for whatever reason opened up to consciousness. So it was just such an example for me of like, that's also possible. So, I mean, the conference that I walked up to him, he wasn't even a speaker at, he just happened to be there. I didn't even know he was going to be there.
Oh, wow.
And Spirit just told me, this is probably the only chance you have in your life to walk up to him. And I did. And the difference is if I walked up to him and said, oh, I have an idea for a book, he'd be like, yeah, good for you. Like everyone has an idea. But the fact that I had this book and it was done, and it was by his exact same publisher too, is what allowed him to see, okay, she's not just talking, she's actually taking action on what it is that she's sharing.
And she's being completely unapologetic in her request. And just going after it. And that's totally you in so many ways, in a nutshell. And, you braving the way and being such a pioneer in kind of in this new avenue of owning your voice, and not to mention, but just completely laying down the foundation for others to discover their Dharma. Gosh, I love that story so much. It always gets me chills.
Hey there, love. I wanted to take a break for a moment and invite you to something that I really think you may benefit from. So, are you the person that has all of these ideas and ambitions swirling around in your head about what you kind of want to achieve this year, but you don't really know where to start? So maybe that's new habits. Maybe it's practices and rituals that you want to create for yourself. But you're like,
in a way, needed that. And it was affirmation that I was on the right track. Because even with my book, Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, coming out, I still in the back of my mind was like, And after this book comes out, I might need to get a job, because I was barely paid for that book. So I feel it was that affirmation and that push of like, no, this is really happening. Like, this is your life. Because I could have never orchestrated that happening myself. So
wild. So wild.
The next step after that, in Sanskrit, they say there's two energies when you're moving towards your dharma being your soul's purpose. So imagine we were all born on a highway, and that highway is guiding us to our fullest expression, who you are here to be in all of your glory, not just one career or job, but it's you and your unique energetic frequency. So we're all born on this highway, and we're driving down this highway as children. We're in alignment. We're being ourselves. And then people in the world outside of us, our school system, our parents, teachers, they say, oh, get off this exit. You'll make more money doing this. You'll be more loved doing that. You'll be able to fit in more if you do this. So we go off these exits on this highway, and the universe responds, because the universe wants us to live our purpose. It wants us to be here sharing our gifts. It's why it designed us. We're all here to solve a unique problem. So the universe responds in what is called karma. Karma is bounded action by the universe. So it's like the barricades on the side of the highway that are like, get back on track. So at first, those barricades are like, tap, tap, tap. Something's wrong. Something's off. Like, you feel anxious. You're not feeling in alignment. But most people, we don't listen. We're like, whatever, let me drink more coffee, get through it. And then you continue to get off that highway. And then the universe is like, okay, you're not listening. Punch, punch, punch. The thing gets bigger. Maybe you're having, breakdowns or panic attacks, or just feeling really out of alignment, or things are kind of exploding in your business in a bad way. And sometimes we listen, but most of the time we don't. We think, let me just muster through this and keep going. And then the universe is like, okay, I need to do something to shake you up, to get you to really revisit your trajectory, because you're not in alignment. And that for many people is their breakdown. It's that rock bottom moment. So for me, my health issues were that they needed me to wake up and to get back into alignment. Now, as we go back on this highway, we experience what is called Kriya, boundless action by the universe. So that's the synchronicities. Those are the meaningful coincidences, meeting the right people at the right time. And when you get into alignment with Kriya, your natural flow, it's like you could take a seat back and the universe is guiding you along the way. So me getting that book deal, then meeting Deepak Chopra, it put me into Kriya. And then it almost gave me permission to let myself honor my creativity. So then I had this idea of a 31-day mind-body challenge with him. And he said yes. And I just that day recorded the whole thing. And then, he had this event, and we started to collaborate. And then I pitched myself to every podcast that I could. I didn't even have a podcast at this time, to start getting my voice and my message out there. I launched my podcast in 2017. I launched my first course. I just kept going and kept going. And
on this spiral of
exactly. And it's that energy of Kriya of you're no longer in that path of resistance. It's more of that path of least resistance, because you're in alignment with your purpose and the big reason why you're here.
Ooh. You're no longer part of the resistance. Wow. No. And to come full circle, I mean, Deepak has said that you are the voice of the millennial generation.
Yeah. He's been so supportive and so sweet every single day. I'm like, how the hell did that all just happen? But I just really believe that people can feel your energy and your intention. And he met me before my first book even came out and saw that in me. So I'm forever grateful for him.
And it's crazy because literally 3 books in, he's been writing the forewords to every single one of the books, including Discover Your Dharma.
Yeah.
Which I want to, jump into, because that is kind of how we met. And it has literally shifted our worlds left, right, front, and center. And literally a year ago, you were here in Austin. And we were alchemizing this next incredible project and really birthing that together. And I think that, because you are such a testament, and I think for a voice for, this generation of ours where, we can heal the traumas of our parents, but also walk our own path. Can you speak to this whole idea of what we've been through in the last 2 years of the Great Resignation, and now we have this result of people literally discovering their Dharma?
Yeah, it's a beautiful time right now. COVID obviously has been so challenging. And at the same time, sometimes we need that sacred pause. We need to hit that rock bottom. We need to go into that karma in order to make the change. And what it's caused a lot of people to do is to really reconsider the trajectory of their lives. Why am I living the same day over and over again? Am I sharing my gifts? Am I in alignment with my truth? And for a lot of people, that answer was no. So the Great Resignation that we're experiencing right now is the largest amount of people in modern history to purposely resign from their jobs. They're not being fired. They're actually choosing to resign in order to choose jobs or careers or start their own businesses that are more in alignment with them. And what's so beautiful about this right now is that I think, especially now as a business owner for ourselves, it's like even business owners want people who are in alignment with their Dharma in an organization. And there is so much room to grow, especially with companies going online, for creatives to have their part, or for moms to share their wisdom, or for people later in life or with different experiences to begin using those experiences as their touch points and sharing their gifts in a new way. So I believe right now is the greatest time of opportunity for people to live their Dharma. And if you are right now in a career that's not serving you, this is really the time where you get to ask yourself those big questions of, why am I here? What are my gifts? What am I excited about? And we have so much content to be able to support you in finding that, and know that right now there is so much opportunity. Companies are really hiring, looking for people right now more than ever before. And if you've been waiting for a permission slip, this moment right now is it.
This is it. This is it. And it's one of the reasons why we started Dharma Coaching Institute a year ago. Mm-hmm. And it was really birthed, I think, for 2 reasons. I think to give people the kind of opportunity that they can begin their own journey of healing, because a lot of our students actually do this as kind of their own personal growth and personal development, especially if they are people of color, if they are coming from immigrant households where they weren't really given that permission. And I love your story so much because it is so visceral and it's very resonant to how all of us grew up, being fearful of our parents and what they would say, and not being supported when we wanted to, dream big in our own ways. It was kind of their own path for us. And which is one of the reasons why Ajit and I are like, oh my gosh, the 3 of us need to create our own little Avengers in our trio, because your book, Discover Your Dharma, has literally been such a game changer. And I think an awakening and a call for so many to help them discover their own. And so there's 2 parts to DCI, where it's, you can go there for your own personal journey, which a lot of our students do. But I think the other angle of DCI, and I want you to talk about that, is you actually can change your career.
It's such a beautiful opportunity, because in my own journey of not only then discovering my Dharma and then embodying and living it, I found that there were so many people who felt that same urge and desire. Like right now, if you're listening to this, are you that friend that everyone comes to whenever they have a problem? Are you that friend that's always giving people advice on things? Are you that friend that's seeing things from a higher level perspective? Mm-hmm. Do you tend to follow a lot of spiritual or personal growth Instagrams? Do you tend to listen to podcasts like this and spend your free time doing this type of work? So many of us really are like unofficial coaches already. We just don't have the tools. We don't know how to structure it. We don't maybe even value our time. And what DCI allows you to do is take what's already there, that little seed inside of you, and water it and nourish it and put you around other people who are just like you. I mean, the friendships in there that have been created are so beautiful. and then allow you to take that natural gift that you have inside of you and create a business for yourself that you can be a certified soul purpose coach and double certification for a spiritual life coach. So you learn all of the frameworks and modalities to help people live their soul's purpose. So from how to have a discovery call, how to work with the Dharma archetypes, the chakra system, the types of Dharma, the blueprint. I mean, we give you everything and show you the outline of how to do a 3-month coaching practice, a 6-week, a 6-month, what to say in each and every one. And then we give you the space to actually practice, because here's the thing that's missing in most coaching institutes. And I've done a lot of them. You don't practice. You don't get feedback from other people. So you graduate, you're like, I've never even practiced this before. Like,
what am I doing wrong?
Business. Exactly. And of course, we have Ajit, who guides in the last 2 months all of the business things you need to know on pricing and structures. And we have a lawyer come in and share about agreements. So it's like, I feel like we really go the extra mile in making sure people really have everything that they need to take those gifts within them and create. It's like that feminine and that masculine, and bringing that integration forward. And then that domino effect that happens when you step into your Dharma, and then you help other people find their Dharma, who help other people and other people and other people. And I truly believe the greatest way that we could change the world is by helping other people live their purposes.
And what a beautiful time, the now, to be able to
what a time to be alive.
Woo, woo, woo. and I mean, it really is, because we get to be the way showers for our friend circle. And if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, you know what, I am the one that's kind of sharing all this wisdom. I am the one, the party starter in having these deeper conversations. Then we invite you to go deeper in your journey. And what do we have for them, Sahara, to begin their journey of discovering their Dharma?
Yes, I love what you said, that we all are those igniting flames in our own demographic. So whatever unique experience you have. So I shared a bit about mine, and you've shared on your story on the podcast. Everyone has their own, but maybe someone listening to this, you know, someone in our community had a son who struggled with addiction, and now she helps other moms whose children have addiction. Or maybe you know what it's like to be a single mom and move to a new country, or whatever your unique life experience is. So there is genuinely coaches needed in every single demographic and every single walk of life, because you can speak the same language as those people who are lawyers looking for their purpose, or nurses, or whatever your industry is. So those things that feel random in your career are actually the things that make you a perfect coach for someone. So yes, we're so excited. And to get the party started, we have a free masterclass for you. So it's the Discover Your Soul's Purpose Masterclass, where I jam out for an hour teaching you about how to discover your soul's purpose. And you can find that at iamsahararose.com/masterclass. And we'll have that link listed below too.
Perfect. Amazing. Amazing. So I kind of want to jump ship here and get into our igniting round. All right. So first question, and you can take as long as you want or as short as you want. Just a couple of questions here as we wrap up our time. All right. So if you can describe a magical moment that sucked recently.
The one that happened right before this, I recorded an entire course and my microphone was not on. And this is the second time that's happened to me. So, you know, I'm just trying to not ever, the last time this happened to me, I recorded a whole course. Like today I recorded maybe 5 hours of content that I'm having to re-record. However, the last time this happened to me, it made the content even better, even punchier, because I did it before. And it's really that example of like mastery takes, 10,000 hours, right? So sometimes in the social media world, we're like, oh, I wrote it once, like it's good enough. But there is a gift in doing something again and again and again to get even more refined. I mean, in Japan and Sushi Dreams of Jiro, they spend 2 years just on the rice. So if they can spend 2 years on rice, I can re-record my course.
You sure can. You sure can. And shout out to everybody who has like failed really big and miserably. I mean, this is kind of like it's a blessing in disguise many times when you see the when you see different perspectives and different outcomes. So
exactly.
It's amazing. So I think the one question in everyone's mind as we kind of close up this loop is, how's your relationship with your father today?
Yeah. So I'm so grateful that my relationship with my father is better than it ever has been before. And he actually now is always like, oh, my daughter, she does what she does because of me. She takes after me so much. She's just like me. I mean, he's like completely blocked out the fighting part. He's like, I've always supported you. I'm just like, whatever helps you sleep at night, bro. But the beauty of it is, I think that
they come around.
And it helped. I think both of our relationships needed it, that I needed to get out of the daughter-father dynamic and see him as a human. And he also, the same thing for me, is not like my child that I need to take care of, but like this human with her own soul path that I'm not going to understand. And both of us are very strong-willed. Both of us are very hardworking and driven. And while he's a scientist and I'm like a spiritual teacher, and it feels like two totally different things, the same qualities that we have within us are what have made us successful in what it is that we do. So I'm so grateful. While he totally still doesn't understand what I'm doing, he's brags to me about everyone that he meets.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. Shout out to Uncle. And we are so excited. We can't wait to meet him at some point. Yeah. Now, what is one practice that's currently elevating your life? So it could be a practice, a ritual, a book.
Well, two different practices. One of them is strength training. So I used to just do a lot of like yoga and bar. And since lifting weights, it has made me stronger. You know, it really, like, sometimes as women, we're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Like lifting heavy baggage up and like putting it up in the airplane and these little things like that. And just like our mind and body are connected, by cultivating more strength and stability in my body, it's cultivated more of that groundedness in my mind. So I love strength training and I love breath work. That to me is a practice. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, but when you first came to my place in the Palisades, when we hung out for the first time, we were just talking for a really long time.
Yeah.
And after you left, maybe the next day, I was doing my breathwork practice. And at the very end of my breathwork, when I was kind of meditating, it said, reach out to Neetha about your Dharma coaching idea. And it literally told me that. And I was like, why would she want to work with me? Like, she works with like Marissa Peer, like all these people. Like, why would she want to work with me? And I told Steven, he was like, I think that's a good idea. You should reach out to her. And I was like, I don't know. And I kind of just sat with it for a few days until I did. And I was like, I'll just throw it out there. Who knows? So that breath work was so powerful because it just landed in that seed that maybe my mind didn't give me permission to think about, but like it was in the ethers waiting to happen.
Oh my God. I love that, because there was so many synchronistic moments in those 2 months together, like when we were both in LA. So, yes. And look at where we are now.
Yeah, it's just such a great example of we get these ideas in life, but then it's like, then do we speak about them? Do we take action on them? So it's like we're giving your space those practices like breath work, meditation, taking walks to get the ideas, and then having the courage to take action on it.
Absolutely. And I think it goes back to the through line of this conversation today is, if you're on the highway, the highway of purpose and kind of your greatest evolution and your greatest expansion, but if you're not paying attention to the signs that keep nudging at you, then really you're missing out on some of the juiciest moments that really are calling at you to make you come alive and to really discover your Dharma. So, okay, what does it mean to be brave?
To be brave is to honor the whispers of your soul and let them be the guiding force of your life.
Okay, and one final question to wrap up our conversation. Describe one word that represents the season of your life.
Creativity.
Love it. Love it. This conversation was so expansive in so many ways. Thank you so much, love.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this podcast to be out into the world and for it to benefit so many people's lives.
Yes, I know. I will be asking for help because you are definitely a pro at it. So thank you so much, love. And until next time on the Brave Table.
Wow, Brave Table fam. That was an incredible episode. Yes, it was chock full of juiciness. And if you're me, I would probably save that one so you can